What up, infidels? Welcome back to another Dangerous Brown podcast. If you came over from the Spoil the Beans page, Dangerous Brown will now be on my page. So thank you for coming over. I expect to lose a couple of listeners, but it's okay. I only have 5 anyway. But for those of you sticking with me, thank you for being a part of this sleeper cell as we continue to grow. A lot of things happened this week, huh? Pretty crazy week in terms of just like stuff that's been going on in America. Last week I released the episode on the day of the debate, completely not knowing that there was a debate, because I didn't like have it on my calendar like, ooh, presidential debate. I wasn't super excited about it, I wasn't like, yes, I finally get to see these two guys talk with one another. That's what I'm missing in my life. These two super old guys just talking about bullshit. But it was a debate, and then I felt bad because I record on Tuesday and I release on Wednesday, so I felt bad that it was coming out Wednesday and there was no debate talk. Needless to say, there was no debate talk during the debate, really. Been thinking about it a lot. And I'll say this. Now that we're a week away, now that we're a week out from the debate, what do you think was a bigger train wreck? This year's first presidential debate or season 8 of Game of Thrones? Because it's close. The debate was, man, I can't believe that these were the two best guys that we could come up with as a political system. The best guys that we could come up with was a narcissistic, rambling white supremacist and a guy who's just clearly too old. The dude couldn't put sentences together like I can't right now. Biden couldn't put sentences together. He didn't know 2 came after 1. He went 1 and then 3 when he was listing shit off. Like, as a proud American, this was a deeply embarrassing debate. Like, other countries were watching this like, wow, that's the best U.S. has to offer. It was embarrassing. But at least there wasn't a random Starbucks cup in the shot. You know what I mean? I was expecting the debate to be kind of a train wreck. Season 8, Game of Thrones, what happened? A Starbucks cup in the shot. HBO. How do you let that happen? There are people paid a crap ton of money to make sure that doesn't happen. There's actors on set. There's the people, like the directors, the people behind the scene on set. There's the editors. There's whoever watches it to give final approval, because there's got to be one of those guys. And all of you, every single one of you, missed the Starbucks cup. Every single one missed the Starbucks cup. Or did you just not give a fuck? Did you just not care? It's got to be a little bit of that, right? Because the season 8 Game of Thrones, there was a whole lot of like, this doesn't feel like anyone cares about this. It really doesn't. The writing went away. The characters just sort of devolved. Like, Varys got... Varys is one of the... For those of you who haven't watched the show, Varys is like this character who's the master of whispers. He's basically in charge of all the spies, right? And he's very good at spycraft. He's very good at playing the game and like not saying what he means, but by not saying what he means, he's saying what he means. He's like good at that double speak. Beautiful character. In the end, he dies because he's straight up plotting against the new queen out loud. Just for anyone to hear. Telling her most trusted advisors, I think he tells Jon Snow that they need to kill the queen or whatever. Something crazy like that. I forgot exactly how it is, but I remember thinking that's not how that character goes. Cersei was one of the best characters on TV for 6-7 seasons. And then she's just standing at a window all 8th season. Like, what a terrible send-off to an amazing character. God. I knew this was going to happen, too. I was Game of Thrones came out when I was in college, right? And I was talking to a friend at the time. Her name is Darian Diaz. Shout out to Darian. And we watched The Sopranos together. We went through The Sopranos together. And she was telling me that I should do Game of Thrones next. And I had heard how amazing Game of Thrones was. And it definitely was on my radar. But I had heard it was based on some books, and the books weren't finished. So I told Darian, I was like, hey, do you... I was like, hey... Sorry, my phone rang, so I was like, oh, I wonder who that could be, and it took me out of my head for a second. But I asked Darian, I was like, hey, do they know when does the author know when he's going to finish the books? And he said no. She said no, there's like no plans for it yet. And I said, I'll tell you this. I've watched enough anime to know. I've watched enough filler episodes where the series caught up to the manga and then the episodes were not good. I just know how stories work. If the book isn't finished by the time they reach the end of the TV show, the ending is going to be terribly bad and terribly unpopular. I told that to her. This is back in like 2013. If she's listening to this, if you could please confirm that would be great. I doubt you're listening to this. You don't seem like you're one of the five infidels. And lo and behold, here we are. And I had no plans on watching Game of Thrones until maybe 6 months before the 8th season came out. I was, I wouldn't say dating a girl, but I was, involved with a girl. And she said, let's watch all of the first 7 seasons together, and then we'll watch the 8th season. So I did all that. I got invested in the series because the first 6 seasons of that series are perfect, pretty much. The first 6 seasons of that series are this is the best television I've ever seen. Season 7 is good. It loses a lot of its traction, I think. Season 7 is the first time you see the holes in the armor, Like Gendry, like the whole scene where they go over the wall to fight the White Walkers, whatever, and then Gendry runs back in one scene to the queen, to Daenerys. And then Daenerys shows up in the next scene. Characters were just traveling instantly. There was no... In the first 5 scenes, if you wanted to go somewhere, you had to travel the path. It took you a second to get somewhere. And then in season 7, people were just instantly teleporting places. Ed Sheeran was in it, which was, controversial and people hated, which, who cares? It's not like he was a integral part of the story. He was just in a scene. That's the one thing I didn't get about, all the criticisms of Game of Thrones. People were mad that Ed Sheeran's in it. Hey, Ed Sheeran has earned the right to be in the Game of Thrones series as a cameo. Absolutely. That dude is, the #1 touring artist, has a bunch of great songs, and he looks like that. You know what I mean? You know how hard it is to be that famous and, conventionally not attractive? You gotta have some serious talent. And out of all the criticism of Game of Thrones, I'm not mad for the Ed Sheeran cameo. You do you, Ed. You do you. I support you. And then season 8. My God. I liked the whole Night King attacking episode. That wasn't, bad. It wasn't, It was exciting, especially the end when Arya kills the Night King. That scene was unbelievably fire. More main characters could have died there. I think it was just Jorah, right? And Jorah didn't even die in the main battle. He died in the sort of post kind of battle, or towards the very end. More could have. More main characters could die. I also felt like it was just not a big payoff for the Night King at all. All this, we spent 8 seasons building him up, and then it's just sort of one attack and he's done. Here's what I thought would have been wild, dude. This is what I thought was going to be wild. I thought, so the Night King is walking up to Bran, right? To kill Bran, because Bran is the true king for literally no reason. Just sort of becomes the true king. And he goes to kill him, and then Arya kills the Night King, right? What should have happened, I think, is the Night King walks up to Bran and then takes a knee and bows to Bran. And then you're like, yo, what is happening? This shit is crazy. I can't believe the Night King bowed to Bran. Would have been a little more interesting. Daenerys' turn was just so, from good to evil, just so telegraphed. Really, what they needed was a couple episodes, a couple seasons for the turn to happen. I think it could have stood 2 more seasons. I know, I get, if you're an actor, I can see why maybe you would want to do it. It's a whole decade of your life that you spent on this. It's a long time for a project, really. And I get where that's coming from, but I don't know. It's also clear that the writers mailed it in. It was just, man, in terms of unsatisfying endings, I can't think of one that's worse. I can't think of one that was left me wanting more. Or wanting something completely different. Remember all the people that signed the petition to change the ending? I mean, of course they weren't going to do it, but man, you screwed up badly if people are straight up, hey, I might as well sign this useless petition. That's how angry I am. I got to show my anger in some way constructively. I thought the petition was stupid. I thought people's response to the petition was also stupid. People would be like, oh, well, HBO did it. You should just make your own. Okay, none of us have the pockets that HBO has to make some stuff. The whole situation around the petition was stupid. I didn't sign it because I knew the reality of what it was. I feel like people signing it had some hope that they would change something, but I knew it. It was done. It was over. The guys went off to do Star Wars, which they didn't even do. They mailed in season 8, and they didn't even do Star Wars. What a waste, huh? What a waste. Awful. Awful. Worst case of entertainment blue balls I've ever received. That wasn't just regular blue balls. That would be like if you were just about to finish and then the girl tells you to stop, or guy, I'm not judging. The girl tells you to stop, and then she murders your family. And then she gets fired off of Star Wars. You're like, man, you murdered my family and didn't even do Star Wars? Didn't even do the thing you murdered her for? Ugh. Rough. I need some water. That's so the people listening know I drank water. A little. Okay. So the president is sick. No one knows how sick they are. Shout out to Claudia Conway for being probably the only trusted media source in the last maybe 4 years for sure. Since the 2016 election, I would say the most trusted media source in this country is Kellyanne Conway's 15-year-old daughter on TikTok. So shout out to her for being the only truth in this messed up world. So president's sick, and presidents have been sick before. And in the hospital before. Reagan got shot, most recently. It's probably the most famous one. I remember Bush got a colonoscopy, and then Dick Cheney was president for 3-4 hours. Which is probably the best time to be president, right? For 3-4 hours. But I came across this dope story about George Washington. Because there were just people's stories popping up of presidents being sick. And this one's great. So George had a weird sore from riding horses on his ass, right? This is maybe 3 months into his presidency, right? So he had a sore on his butt, and that sore developed into a tumor that apparently was the size of 2 fists, and so they had to cut it out. And this is the description of them cutting out that tumor from George Washington's ass a couple months into his presidency. 2 physicians, a father and a son, came to the bedroom at Cherry Street on June 17th, 1778, to conduct a procedure more resembling a butcher's job than a doctor's. After a brief preparation, the son's scalpel commenced cutting away at the infected mass, but there seemed to be no end to it, and the initial cut turned into a wholesome excavation. Washington had no anesthesia, but neither flinched nor made a sound. The father knew leaving any trace of the infection would make the operation pointless, so he finally blurted out as his son paused, "Cut away! Deeper! Deeper still!" The son continued slicing. "Don't be afraid," the father exclaimed. Not to Washington, though, but to his son. He glanced at the president in certain amazement and said, "You see how well he bears it." Gangster. The dude was getting a tumor removed the size of 2 fists and didn't even wince. Dude, they made people differently back then, for sure. I'm sure there's I feel like the only way you have that much resolve is if you've actually had to survive winters. You know what I mean? Like, Washington was an army general for a lot of his life. And even when he was high up, he still had to survive winters, you know? I've never had to survive a season before. Back then, even the richest people had to be like, okay, we got to hunker down for winter. And that's how you get that tough, where you don't wince when someone's cutting tumors out of your body. You just take it like a man. That's so dope, dude. That's so dope. I can't even imagine having a president like that, let alone knowing someone like that. Just knowing someone who doesn't need anesthesia to have a tumor removed. I grew up in a lucky time where I didn't have to survive a winter. It sucks because, the next generation, we're going to be like, oh, man, there used to be this thing called winter. But I lived in that sweet spot where I didn't have to battle the elements. Thank God, At least for 27 years, I got to go scot-free. We'll see what happens in the next year. Shit, 27. I'm 28 now. At least for 28 years, I got to move scot-free, where I didn't have to battle the elements. That's so tough. That's so gangster. To get a tumor cut out of you and not even wince, man. I don't get it. I can't. If I have a hangnail, it ruins my day. I can't imagine getting a tumor cut out of you and then being president. What? If I had a tumor the size of 2 fists on my body, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to take a break from this president thing. Yet, apparently, he needed a month to rest, but he stopped resting a little bit earlier than he should because he didn't want to seem weak. So the president got this operation. He couldn't even sit down normally, couldn't sleep because he couldn't rest comfortably, and he still went back to work a little early as to not seem weak. Now, as crazy as Trump is to go back to work as quickly as he did, or to go back to the White House quickly as he did, I think it's very short-sighted of him, and it's very dangerous. I think he's endangering the people around him. And the fact that he was in the hospital and the doctors are like, we don't know if your condition just still get worse. For him, I think it would be smart if he just stayed in the hospital an extra couple days. Because now, if things are going to get worse, it's going to get extra worse because he's trying to work again. And when you're sick, you can't really be working, probably. Especially when you have a deadly sickness and your job is the president, which is extra stressful, right? That being said, it makes sense why Trump wants to come back so soon. From an optics standpoint, it's the same thing George Washington is going through. Or is going through. Jesus, went through. He's going through. This was 1790? So this was 200. Oh, 300. Shit. This is what? No, 300. Oh my God, I can't do math. It's 2010, so it's 2000 minus 200. So it's 210 years ago. There we go. My God, I'm an idiot. I had to do it out loud. That's how much calculators have made life easier for us. Normally, I could just put that on my phone, and get it done simply. But I had to think about it. So 210 years ago, it's the same thing, man. It's all about optics. You're the president. You gotta seem strong. And George and Donald are almost in the same situation in the sense that George was the first president. So if he's sick, there's like a massive constitutional crisis for sure, especially within the first month of his presidency. And then for Donald Trump for this to happen in an election year, during an election, before probably one of the more important elections we've had in a while. Because there is that sort of like, what's going to happen after this? That we're on the edge of civil unrest. He's got to project strength. Now, how you project strength is up for interpretation. For him, it's showing that I'm maskless and I can be in the White House and I'm strong and COVID means nothing. One could argue a projection of strength would be like, hey, let me show the American people that this is a deadly disease and let me take the proper precautions and making sure they're aware of how bad it is. That, that could be interpreted as showing strength, but not in Donald's mind, and he's the president, and that's how he chooses to do it. But I'm not saying he's right in what he's doing, but there is precedent with other presidents. Very proud of that one. With the first one, there's a precedent of you got to show some sort of strength. Apparently, during his time, during Washington's time, there's a bunch of rumors circling around that he had a foot in the grave. Sound familiar? And to quell these rumors, Washington started having very public appearances. Sound familiar? He drove around in his motorcade. I'm not on that. This is probably making that up, obviously. But, I get why Trump is doing what he's doing. Now, the difference is Washington was recovering at the time. The doctors say his prognosis was on the way up anyway, and he just sort of got back to work a little early. Trump, man, is still sick. Who knows? According to trusted media source Claudia Conway, he's not doing well. This was according to her TikTok comments as of last night. Time will tell. Time will tell. Oh, man. But I'll tell you what. If you know anything about what I've said on both Two Dope Beards and Spoil the Beans, the other podcast that I'm on, I personally think that Trump is making a play to be like a dictatorish ruler. And it would be so funny if he got taken out by the disease. Like, again, cosmically, I get some of you guys are Trump supporters, but come on. I saw the best tweet. I wish I saved it, man. I wish I could give credit to who this tweet was, but it said, "This is like this is like analogous to Lincoln standing up in the middle of the play, being like, I'm not gonna get shot in the back of the head." That's what it's kind of like. And the logic is there, man. You downplay this whole thing so much. 200,000 Americans are dead, which is insane. How many 9/11s is that, right? 200,000 divided by 3,000. That's 66.6 9/11s in a span of 6 months. And then you get it. So put it in that perspective. It's like 66. Go back to 2001. It'd be like 66 9/11s happening, and then George Bush being like, "This is not a problem," and then he gets 9/11. There's something cosmically funny about that, And if you're his supporters, I hope you're not mad at me for saying that. But come on. You got to see it a little bit. But I wanted to talk about this because I saw this recently, and I thought this is something that you guys would find interesting. So, we all know Saddam Hussein, right? We've all heard. But the way he became dictator is insane. And it's insane because the moment he became dictator is caught on cameras. He set up the cameras. He brought the press there. And he committed a purge for the world to see. And you can watch it on YouTube. You can watch the purge that made Saddam on YouTube. So right now, it's a 37-minute long video. I'm going to take you through the highlights, and I'll try to post the video, snippets of the video along with this. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to edit stuff, so I'll see if I can post snippets of the video along with the YouTube feed. So again, if you're listening, hop on my YouTube or just search up the Dangerous Brown podcast, subscribe to my channel, and you get to see me, but you'll get to see videos from the actual purge. So it's in black and white. You start off, you see Saddam. Okay, actually, let me explain a bit of the background to what's happening here. So this is a purge of people within Saddam's own political party of people who were against him. His party is called the Ba'ath Party, and let me set up the background of what happens that leads to this purge. It's called the Ba'ath Party Purge from 1979. It begins with, so the Ba'ath Party is this nationalist Arab party. Think Trump, but for Arabs back then. And you know, there's a lot of politics behind it, but that was so hard for me to get into because apparently the Middle East was always kind of messed up in terms of power struggles. But it's an Arab nationalist party, started in Syria, then brought over into Iraq. So they're connected. And Syria at the time was a major world player for the Arabs. They were a major Arab power, which is, you know, kind of crazy to think about now because in my lifetime, they've seemed more like a pawn, especially in the early 2010s. They seemed like a pawn state for, you know, like a proxy state for Putin and Obama to fight over things. That's what they seemed like in my lifetime. So to imagine them being a stronghold is interesting. So it started in Syria, brought over to Iraq. The Iraqi prime minister leader of Iraq, I don't even know. This is how everything I tell you, everything I do is just based off a quick Google search. Please, if I'm wrong, tell me and research this yourself, you know. The leader of the Ba'ath Party. So Saddam was like second or vice Ba'ath. I don't even know what you call it. Vice shower. He was the vice Ba'ath, and he was he was powerful, but also not. He was very liked, I guess, within his party, and then he brought a lot of social programs to Iraq, like literacy programs and stuff. So, you know, he was a man of influence. But the leader before him wanted to merge Iraq and Syria together as one, and that play would have caused Saddam pretty much to lose all his power. Would have forced him to the side, you know? So Saddam forced the guy in front of him, forced the leader of Iraq to resign, and then he purged the Ba'ath Party of what he deemed as Syrian loyalists, pretty much. Now, a lot of them were just made up. I'm pretty sure a lot of them were just random names he read off, and were like, "We gotta kill this guy to make it look like to show how powerful I am." So let's watch the purge, right? You start off with Saddam. The whole time he's smoking the whole purge is an amazing bit of political theater. He really did a good job bringing in the cameras and showing how powerful he is, because you can feel the tension in the room. You could see it in people's eyes. It's just like, what is happening here? There is a tension in the room that is very, very, very thick. So I have notes to show you. So the first guy you see after Saddam is the guy that Saddam brings up to tell the rest. So the room is filled with everyone from the Ba'ath Party. And the guy he brings up first is a guy named Mohi Abdel Hussein. And what Mohi's doing in this is he's telling Saddam and the rest of the party the plot to take down Saddam and bring Iraq and Syria together, effectively weakening Iraq's power. And Abdul Hussein says he's a part of it. See, Abdul Hussein is confessing to his crimes right now. And what you need to know when you watch him is that Abdul Hussein has sustained many hours of torture up to this point. And I watched this video a long time ago, and I didn't quite know the context of that. But rewatching it again, you can see it. You can see a man scarred with torture. It's crazy. He has a blank stare. Oftentimes, throughout the whole 37 minutes, he just stares blankly. He'll say a sentence, stop mid-sentence, and stare blankly, and only starts again when Saddam prods him, when Saddam gives him the prompt of like, hey, this is what you're supposed to say next. Abdul Hussein stutters. At a certain point, there's a point where there's subtitles. So, someone subtitle this so you can read what's going on, and even the subtitle goes, "Dude." At this point, Abdul Hussein, he didn't say "dude." That'd be funny, but he said "dude." He said "bro." He said "homies." Yo, dogs. Broskies. During this next couple minutes, even I can't tell you what Abdul Hussein is saying. He's stuttering. He's saying words that aren't coherent. It's crazy. This man has been tortured, and you can see it. And the first person they mention as part of he mentions as helping him as part of the plot is a guy named Mahmoud Jassim, which made the whole thing personal to me because Jassim is my dad's name. A lot of times, especially with this historical thing, this happened 40 years ago. It's easy to be like, that was a long time ago. It's easy not to feel with the people that are dealing with this on an empathetic level. And then I see some guy with my dad's name. I'm like, oh, damn. These people that he's killing, some of which randomly and innocently, or, however innocent a politician back then could be, had families. And they're being used as a prop in political theater by this crazy dictator, by Saddam, who, by the way, if there was a Hall of Fame for statesmen, I think Saddam would be on it. Not because he's like a great guy, but because he made Iraq an Arab power before when it wasn't, and he dictated a lot of world discourse. He was a very famous politician. If there was a Hall of Fame for politicians, I think or statesmen, I think Saddam would be in it. He would have to get inducted. I mean, he's the last great Arab statesman, I think, that I can think of off the top of my head. Al-Assad, the guy in Syria, he's sort of dictator-y, but I wouldn't say he's a great statesman. Like I said, he seems like he's using his country as like a proxy war between the U.S. and Russia, at least before Trump got there. He didn't seem all that powerful. Saddam was powerful. We had to justify 9/11 to take him down. We used 9/11 to justify taking him down. There we go. Actually, the way I said that correctly was first time. We justified our Dick Cheney justified doing 9/11 because he wanted to take Saddam down. I don't stand corrected. But yeah, this just the first guy being named Jassim really made it personal for me. Really made me care more. Now, it might not make it personal for you. You might, be thinking like, oh, this is still just people over there and they're brown or whatever. And that's, I guess don't feel bad about feeling that way. I can't tell you to feel I can't make you feel like everybody's human. You have to feel people are human on your own, I guess. And I think a younger idealistic me would be like, yeah, you should look at it. You should view everyone as a human being, which you should, but life's messy, I guess. So we see him mentioning Mahmoud Jassim, and then basically Abdul Hussein just starts saying like, hey, these are some people that are part of the plot. And you can feel the tension in the room being like, okay, something's happening. He's mentioning names. Is my name going to pop up? Like, people are scared. You can see it in people's faces in the crowd. At 7 minutes in, random people just start shouting, long live Saddam Hussein. A couple people get up saying all these people should be executed. 10 minutes in, we get a great bit of political theater. So Saddam is sitting sort of chilling, right? Abdul Hussein is standing up. At a certain point, Saddam goes, "Hey, Abdul Hussein, bro, Dusky, broham, you would probably be more comfortable if you sat down." So Saddam gets up, gives him a seat, and Saddam walks off the stage and sits in the front row. Now, when he walks off the stage, it is dead silent, and everyone gets up immediately. You can hear people getting up. Like, the power is insane. I mean, I used this word to describe George Washington earlier. I'm used to describe Saddam now. Gangster, dog. Gangster. Everyone stands. No one sits until he sits. He's got full control of the room. Just as an interesting point, a lot of people are coughing in the room, and it's noticeable just because of what the world's going through now. Like, there's a lot of coughing in the room, and you feel it because you're like, ooh, this is a lot. At 18 minutes in, Saddam from the front row says something. Everyone claps absurdly long because they realize, okay, this guy's making a power play for the nation. He gets up. Everyone stands up. He goes on stage. 22 minutes in, lights a cigar. Again, great political theater. Lights a cigar and just starts listing off names. And every name he lists off, he tells them, hey, if I say your name, get up and go outside. Some people argue. Some people say, I didn't do anything. He doesn't care. He says the name. They get up. Some are escorted by, like, his secret police, right? People start chanting, "Long live Saddam." That's crazy. They start, like, some people, at a certain point, they sing. Let me see if I can get audio of them singing for you guys. So at the very least, people who don't listen for this. Okay, hold on. Let's see if I can get it here. I wonder if you can hear it. Let's see. That's people clapping. That's people chanting "Long live Saddam" in unison. They're all standing up. People are crying. It's insane. It's intense. I think Saddam calls out 20 names or so. I think I could be wrong. It could be as much as 50. But he has some of them executed on the spot. At the Purge. He has people. You don't see that in the video. Thank God. And here's what's crazy. He has people executed. These Ba'ath political members by other Ba'ath political members. Ones that aren't slated to be executed. Why? So he makes those people complicit in his crimes. It's a good mind game. Because if you're complicit in the crime, you're like, well, now I have to protect him to protect myself. Because if he goes down, I go down. I killed the guys. He sentenced them to death, but I personally killed those guys. It's a good thing to do for people, for any would-be dictators thinking about purging out there. It's a good thing to do with people who are on the edge of not supporting you. You kill your people who don't support you outright. But the people on the edge, make them complicit in your crimes. It's a stronger case for them to support you. All of this is on YouTube. All of this is beautiful theater. Beautiful theater. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's a horrible person who did a horrible thing. But again, cosmically, look outside. If you could take, a view from a deity looking down, you'd be like, this is beautiful theater. People are chanting their name. People are chanting, "Long live Saddam," because they're scared. All of them, you look at their faces, all of them are shitting their pants because they don't know if they're about to be called next. Can't imagine living through that. Can't imagine getting to see that in real time. I mean, it was the most blatant power play I've ever seen. To record it and put it out there, it was a great use of that, especially at that time, modern media. That would be like if the equivalent of him doing this would be like if someone did this now on Facebook Live. That's the equivalent of that, or something, TikTok Live. Like, here's me purging the government of people I don't like to consolidate my power. It was. I'll put the link in my YouTube for the video. I think it's worth a watch. You don't get to see most of the names get called. They cut that part out. I had to go to another video to watch some of that. But yeah, that's the bath party purge of 1979. And hopefully we never see a purge like that in this country. I think we're a little bit away from that. I don't think that's something that we need to worry about, but maybe it's closer than we think. There's only so much you can chant "lock her up" before people either think you're crazy or start believing you. Before people are like, maybe we should lock her up. Maybe we need to purge our government of these quote-unquote deep state people. It's not a far leap mentally, is it? And if it's done public, Saddam after this ruled for another 24 years or so, maybe even longer, at least 20 plus years. Yeah, he probably died in 2005, 2006ish. So yeah, 25 years. It can be done publicly, and we can do nothing about it if it happens. But hopefully it won't. That's the bath party purge of 1979. Hopefully I can edit some of the clips onto the YouTube, so you guys can at least, if you don't want to watch it, you can at least see what it sort of looks like, and see what the major historical event looks like. See how you create a dictatorship. The level of control he has over the room is insane. It's insane. It's eerie. It's really eerie. So I'm gonna work hard to see if I can get those images to you. I don't have much to say. I'm not going to force this to be too long. 40 minutes is long enough, I would assume. My mom told me that like an hour is too long because she likes to listen to them, but whatever comes naturally, I think, is what I'm going to do. This week I wanted to talk about the George Washington medical procedure and Saddam's and the Purge. So I got through what I wanted to get through. Thank you guys, infidels, for listening. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about this. I want to grow the sleeper cell. I probably should stop calling it this, but it's too funny. I can't help it. It's too funny. I want to grow, and then leave a review on iTunes for me, man. Help me out a little bit. I'm hoping. I'm trying to grow this. Well, obviously I'm trying to grow this, but I like history, and I like connecting it to things, and I think all this stuff, the Purge, George Washington being sick, I think it all has a very important. They can teach us very important lessons of today. That's it. That's all. So I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening or watching. Later.